In this video, we'll be doing a CBSE Class 9th Science Chapter 3, Tissues in Action. Starting off with what are tissues? Well, cells of similar type performing similar function group together to form a tissue. All the cells of the tissue have the same structure and come together to perform a specific function. So every cell comes together to form a tissue, which in turn forms an organ, leading to an organ system. The formation of tissues helps in division of labor, which increases the efficiency of the body and enables it to carry out complex life processes. We have seen the different types of cells in the previous chapter. Now let us understand why plant and animal tissues are different based on plant cell and the animal cell. Plant cells have cell wall to help maintain a rigid structure, whereas the animal cells do not have a cell wall as animals are mobile. Plant cells have one large central vacuole. Animal cells have a small temporary vacuole or no vacuoles at all. Plant cells have chloroplasts for photosynthesis since they are autotrophic, and animal cells do not have any chloroplasts as they are heterotrophic. Because of these major differences in the plant and animal cells, the tissues formed in the plant and animal are different. Let us deep dive into plant tissues. Plant tissues are mainly of two types: meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues have actively dividing cells and are responsible for the growth in the plants. Permanent tissues are formed from the meristematic tissue through the process of differentiation, and the cells are specialized to form specific functions. Meristematic tissues are of three types, which are apical, intercalary, and lateral, whereas permanent tissues are of two types, simple and complex. In meristematic tissues, the cell size is small, the nucleus is large and prominent, the cytoplasm is dense, and the cell wall is thick. The vacuoles are practically absent, and the intercellular space is nil or less. This cell structure in the meristematic tissue helps it give growth to the plants. Meristematic tissues are located at four main sites in a plant. The apical meristematic tissue is located at the shoot and the root tips, which helps in increasing the length of the plant. The intercalary tissue is present at the internode or at the base of the plant that helps in branching or regeneration after being cut. The lateral tissue is located at the circumference of the stem, which helps in increasing the girth or the circumference of the tree as it goes up. These are the different kinds of meristematic tissues. Now, once the meristematic tissue undergoes differentiation, that is, it stops dividing, it forms permanent tissues. So if we take a sunflower stem and cut it transversely, which is horizontally, and observe the slice of the stem under a microscope, we can see different kinds of permanent tissues in the plants. Permanent tissues in plant stem mainly have three types: simple, which is protective tissue, which is the epidermis, and supporting tissue like parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma, and conducting tissue, which helps in transportation like xylem and phloem. So coming on to the simple permanent tissue in plant, epidermis. Here, the structure of this tissue has tightly packed single layer of flat rectangular cells, and there is epidermal hair, which increases the surface area of absorption, especially in roots. There is a cuticle where the cells are covered in a waxy layer of cutin, which provides protection against mechanical injuries. The epidermis also has stomata, which contains pores for gaseous exchange and transpiration, due to which the plants can exchange gases and also helps in transportation of water. Moving on to the supporting tissue, the second layer in the cell, there are three types of tissues here. Parenchyma, which have thin cell walls, are living cells which are loosely packed and store food, perform photosynthesis. Collenchyma are living cells with unevenly thickened corners due to the formation of pectin, which gives the stem its flexibility. Sclerenchyma are dead cells and have thick cell walls due to deposition of lignin, which makes the structure hard and strong, as we see in big plants. Coming to the conducting tissues or the complex tissues like xylem, complex tissues are made up of different kind of cells performing different functions coming together for a specific purpose. So in xylem, the function is to provide the strength in the plant and transport water, minerals from the roots to other parts of the plant. Xylem mainly has tracheids, xylem vessel, and fibers, which are sclerenchymus, that is mostly dead cells having thick walls and are tubular in structure that helps in conducting water and minerals. The xylem parenchyma is the only living part of xylem that stores food and performs photosynthesis to support this tissue. Coming to the other conducting tissue, phloem, whose function is to transport the soluble products of photosynthesis to different parts of the plant, consists of a sieve tube with sieve pore, which are long tubular cells joined end to end by perforated walls or sieve pores to transport food from the leaves to other parts of the plant. The companion cells on the side are parenchymatic cells that regulate the loading and unloading of the sugars in the sieve tubes. Phloem fibers are the only sclerenchymatous tissue here that provides strength to this tissue. Phloem parenchyma store the food materials, resin, tannins, and latex. These are the two different kinds of conducting tissues in plants. This diagram here shows the different tissues that we have studied in plants, which form the different tissue systems in plants. So every plant has three tissue systems, starting with the dermal tissue system, which forms the outer covering of the plant and protects the inner plants from water loss. The ground tissue forms the main body that includes supporting tissues like parenchyma, Sclerenchyma, and Collenchyma that helps in supporting the plant stand up. The vascular tissue consists of tissues like xylem and phloem that help in transportation. This is basically the different tissue systems in plants. Moving on, we have the animal tissues, which are of four different types. That is epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, nervous tissue, and connective tissue. Starting with the epithelial tissue, which is of multiple types based on where it is present. Mostly it is located on the outer covering of the body and internal linings of internal organs. It helps in absorption, secretion, movement of substances, sensory functions, and protections. Generally, these tissues have closed packed cells with very little space between them, which help in preventing the entry of germs and reduce water loss. Under epithelial tissue, the first kind is the one which helps in exchange, which has a thin layer of flat cells. These tissues help in rapid diffusion of liquids and gases across the body, hence are present as the inner lining of tissues or blood vessels or lungs. For protection, the cells become multi-layered and the outer cells are flat, which are tightly packed. These cells protect us from mechanical injuries, friction, and entry of microbes. Hence, they are present on the skin, mouth, esophagus, etc. For secretion, the specialized cells may be cuboidal or columnar that help in this process. Their function is production and secretion of mucus, enzymes, hormones, sweat, saliva, etc. Hence present in salivary glands, sweat glands, stomach lining to secrete all the juices that we have discussed. For sensory tissue, these cells specialize with receptors having hair-like cilia that help in sensing the smell, taste, sound, and balance. The location of these tissues are nostrils, taste buds, inner ear, skin, eyes, etc. For absorption, they become a single layer of tall pillar-like cells having hair with cilia. The function is to efficiently uptake the nutrients, water, etc. hence present in the lining of the small intestine. These are the different kinds of epithelial tissues in our body. Moving on to connective tissue, where the first connective tissue in our body is blood. Blood has a soft, watery, fluid-like structure due to its jelly-like matrix that helps transport different kinds of gases and nutrients through the body. The red blood cells transport oxygen using hemoglobin, platelets help in clotting of the blood, and white blood cells collect at infected areas to fight against and cause inflammation. The other kind of connective tissue is bone, which has a hard, solid, and rigid matrix, and its function is to give strength and support and protection to internal organs. Another kind of connective tissue is cartilage, which is soft, flexible, and has a jelly-like matrix which helps retain its shape after being bent. It provides flexibility and cushions the end of the bones for shock absorption. Tendons have a dense matrix and have fiber-like structure whose main function is to connect the muscle to the bone to allow the movement to occur. And ligaments have a similar dense matrix but more elastin to add more tensile strength to the bone. Their function is to connect bone to bone and provide stability and limit movement and helps prevent dislocation between the bones. Moving on to muscular tissue, we have three different kinds of muscular tissue, starting with skeletal muscle, who have long cylindrical cells that are called muscle fibers. They are unbranched and they are multinucleated, which means multiple nucleus, and are striated, which means having dark and light bands. They are mainly located wherever there is a skeleton and it is attached to that skeleton. The function is to control voluntary actions. Smooth muscles are spindle shaped and have single nucleus and lack striations. They are mostly present in stomach, intestine, etc. and control involuntary actions where we need slow and continuous movements. Cardiac muscle are cylindrical, branched with single nucleus and have faint striations, and they are found only in the heart to enable the heart beat rhythmically through life. The nervous tissue in the plant is spread throughout the body and the muscular tissue is under the nervous control. The specialized cells that are in this tissue are called neurons that are designed to receive, transmit and process signals. They control the voluntary and involuntary actions in the body. The cell body and the nucleus of this neuron controls the cell activities. Dendrites receive the signal. Axon, a long fiber that carries the message from the cell to the end, and axon terminals transmit the messages to the other neuron. This is how the nervous tissue helps control the muscular tissue. Let us look at the musculoskeletal system in our body and how a movement or a voluntary action occurs. The entire musculoskeletal system helps us stand upright, move, maintain posture, and also protect delicate organs. And this whole system is under nervous control. So the muscle receives the nervous signal to contract, and the tendon passes this movement force from muscle to the bone. At the joint, this movement occurs and the ligament transmits this movement to the next bone. The cartilage in between the bone provides cushioning during the movement. This is how this system works. Let us look at the different kinds of joints in this system. Fixed joint. Here, no movement occurs. These are present in bones of the skull and tooth of the gums where these joints do not move. Next, we have the ball and socket joint, which has 360-degree rotation in one of the axes. The bones of shoulder and arm and hip and leg are connected by this ball and socket joint. Pivot joint or 180-degree rotation in one axis is present at our neck where the skull and the vertebral column is connected through this joint, which provides a 180-degree rotation in one axis. Hinge joint, which is present in knee, elbow, etc., have upward and downward motion in one direction to help move the elbow and knee accordingly. Moving on to the skeletal system, the entire skeletal system of our body is present to give structure and protection to our body. The vertebral column, which is present on our back, extends from the base of the skull to the hip. It supports the body and helps stand upright. It is made up of tiny vertebrae and which help support the spinal cord. In between each vertebrae, there is cartilage that allows the flexibility of the bone. And in the front, we have the rib cage, where we have 12 pairs of ribs together to form a rib cage. They protect and support the heart and lungs. The ribs are joined to the backbone and sternum by flexible cartilage that allows these ribs to expand and contract during breathing. This completes the chapter Tissues in Action from the CBSE 9th textbook. Hope you have understood this chapter well, and you can comment below for any questions. Like this video and subscribe to the channel for more such content.